Spain or or Brazil, and now we're going to sell it to our Sicilian brethren in the U.S. But what interests me, and this is like I've been in this rabbit hole since like 1995. This is the pizza connection was two parts: Sicilian mafiosi here in the United States that were loyal back to Sicily, right? And then U.S.-based mafiosi like Salvatore Catalano and the Bananas. Give me how the network was set up here in the United States.
As far as he was calling them in, and they were shipping through pizza, marble, luggages, in the airports, people handling luggage, numerous ways. But he was the middleman. You got to remember, and if you know anything about Gaetano Badalamenti, he became a drug dealer real fast,
real quick.
Okay?
Correct.
Okay, he wasn't that guy, and he had to become one. So it was his way of sticking it to the arena. He said, "You know what? Take that," in the old Sicilian way, and he became a middleman, one of the biggest middlemen in the drug game in the 1980s.
So really quick, Don Vito, Corsicans got knocked out of the box for the most part after the French Connection. That's what we're talking about. Post-French Connection, now the pizza connection. And up into the 80s.
Okay. I have very little knowledge about the people in Marseille, but I'll tell you one thing. The Sicilians back in the day were the biggest show in Marseille, bigger than the Corsicans. They worked together.
Correct.
Okay, that's one of those places like Montreal where there's
groups.
There's different groups that they work together, and the Corsicans and the Sicilians in Marseille, because they got a lot of Sicilians in Marseille, did work together.
Got it. Okay, so now we now import it. We get it to the U.S., right? So I want to bring up, I kind of insisted on bringing him up. Yeah, Pietro Alfano, he's to my left. So if you're watching, your left. And to the right, Salvatore Mazzucco. Now, Pietro Alfano was critical because that was Badalamenti's nephew. He was not in New York. He was in the Midwest, but he also was a Strunz. Tell us a little bit about him.
He liked to talk a lot, obviously, on the phone because that was the taps that ended up getting Badalamenti caught.
Correct.
They heard a guy on the other side of the phone, very subtle,
which is uncle on the phone.
Yeah, and he's talking about weight, if I'm correct.
Well, they would say shirts, but they knew what it was.
Yeah, and right. These people weren't dumb, and at the time there was a couple of FBI agents who also spoke the Sicilian dialect, and they were putting things together real quick. Actually, there was that one guy. He was in the documentary. He's very fluent in Sicilian. I forgot his name. He's been in a couple of documentaries, especially when it comes to the Pizza Connection documentaries. He's been around. But yeah, so I mean, I'll tell you a story. These guys are they're the hoodlums. They're not fucking brain surgeons. So there was one guy, right? He calls his cousin up and he tells him, "Look, I got these 2 refrigerators, which were 2 kilos. Are you gonna you want 2?" He goes, "Yeah, you know what? Give me 2 refrigerators." And then he steps back. He goes, "You know what? Make that 1.5." He wants 1.5 refrigerators.
What the fuck? Make this up.
Yeah, no, you can't make. This is true shit. Okay, so that shit. So Alfano definitely fell under the IQ right there. His IQ was not. Right. He didn't have a savvy street IQ.
I want to give a little bit of an insider knowledge. So you and I were talking on the phone about this, and I think it's fair. Big money was flowing in. Now, the U.S. government estimates that pipeline at $400 million per year. I actually think it was more. That's just my humble opinion.
But I don't know the numbers, Tom.
You can share this if you don't mind. You were talking about you were working baccarat and card games when the Sicilian mafiosi were making money and what kind of money they were gambling and making.
No. I said no. During that era, I wasn't working the baccarat game. I would go there. My family worked the baccarat game. Yes.
How about this?
I worked when it started becoming very, very, very not as lucrative. It was not even close. Well, anyway, are you familiar with a Texas Hold'em table?
Absolutely.
And they used to stick hundreds in my pocket. I'm like a 12-year-old kid, 13-year-old kid. So I would go in there. So you know a Texas Hold'em table, right?
Yeah.
So picture you don't see the felt.
Yeah.
You don't see the felt. You see all freaking hundreds.
Wow.
All right. Well, yeah, and it'll be like, hey, go get me my bag. Guy come back with a bag in the car. You know, send his gopher, come back with 100,000. Then be in there for 2 fucking days straight on Knickerbocker Avenue playing. So I got into the game where all these guys weren't around no more. And, you know, so many short memories and together with stories that were corroborated by guys who were around at that time working the game. Yeah. They were bringing home shitloads of money.
Yeah.
Just working the game. And that was back then. So, yeah, that was the most lucrative time in the Baccarat game history. A game that was started by my family in the 60s, late 60s. And I don't know if it's still around anymore, but it was until I got locked up.
Okay, so now the stuff's getting imported. How many pizzerias were roughly involved? I read the book so long ago, so you guys got to forgive me, but I think it was north of 100 different pizzerias, a lot in the Midwest. But how many pizzerias would you guess?
I knew maybe of 6. The one in particular was we called each other relatives. We weren't relatives, but we called each other. Was he ran it for Sal Catalano, and that was this guy. His last name was Dr. Mella. He's no longer with us. He had passed. That's why, you know, I'm not putting him out. I really actually like the guy too. And he ran the place. That was the Al Dente in Queens Boulevard. That's where that picture is taken where Alfano's on the phone.
Yeah.
That's right. That's a payphone right outside of Al Dente.
Right. So now let's go to the U.S. side let's deep dive there and unpack that a little bit. What Borgata?
You're on the U.S. side.
No, meaning, but what Borgata specifically, or what crew specifically? Because, like you were saying, it was like an open market, right? I'm on Knickerbocker Avenue.
Look, if you're selling drugs and you're selling them cheaper than somebody else, they're going to buy from you. That's what it was.
So who were some of the players on the U.S. side of things that were either Sicilian Cosa Nostra or American LCM?
I'm not. There's a lot of guys that are out there.
Yeah.
And I mean, figure you guys ain't dumb. You guys know your mob 101. Sicilian Zips, and Bonanno and Gambino.
Yeah.
Okay. And then there was regular American guys that would buy from these guys. You know,